I'd like to talk to you from a physician perspective on this living crystal and in relationship to the meditation and how meditation is so critical for the brain. I've done a lot of studying on the brain as far as habits, as well as basic neurology in my clinical training. And I do think that patients need to know and understand that there are three different, obviously, there are more waves, but there are three kind of waves that your brain um, it resides in. And during the day, and understanding these waves will help you understand why you need to use the living crystal because it's oftentimes very tough for the brain to shift from a beta to an alpha to a theta wave pattern. So we're all in a busy environment. We all have a lot of to do. I do find it's hard for a lot of patients to get into an alpha and theta state. This living crystal allows you energy wise to get into that state. I've tried it, I've ops checked it, I've got a prototype, and I've noticed that it is significantly easier to make those transitions as you go into meditation and to get into a calm, productive state. So I want you to understand these beta waves and alpha waves and theta waves and why they're so critical, not just to getting into a meditation state, but also from a learning brain perspective. Oftentimes, we train our bodies, but we don't train our brains. And why aren't we focusing on training our brains? Alzheimer's is going to affect one out of every three patients. It has been and will continue to do so. So if we start to train our brains a little bit, would that help the outcome of dementia and Alzheimer's type brain conditions? So let's dive into what beta waves are. So beta, you're always typically in beta during the day. They're high frequency, low amplitude brain waves that are commonly observed in the awakened state. So they're involved in your conscious thought, your logical thinking, and tend to have a stimulating effect. So having the right amount of beta waves allows us to focus, but too many beta waves can actually lead to feelings of fear and anxiety. So beta waves are associated with this state of alertness, this mental activity. This is a brainwave you experience when you're wide awake and engage in your problem solving or other mentally challenging tasks. It definitely can help improve your memory and your cognitive performance. But again, if you have too much of it or too much neurological stimulation to overexcite these beta waves, basically that puts you into a feeling of fear and anxiety. We see this in a lot of people who are on computer devices and watching TikTok and on a lot of social media. So if you're stressed out and you're anxious, learning how to increase the other two, the alpha and the theta waves, and reduce your beta wave activity should be your goal. So it's kind of like when we talk to patients about your autonomic nervous system, it is automatic. So you've got the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and it responds on its own to the environmental changes. Your sympathetic is your fight or flight. Your parasympathetic is your rest and digest. So people who start to get digestive issues tend to have an oversympathetic nervous system with a lower frequency of a parasympathetic function. Same thing applies when you're talking about brainwaves. So lowering those beta waves and increasing the alpha and the theta waves will help balance out those beta waves a little bit and get you into a calmer state. I kind of equate it to Monsters Inc. Think of the laugh meter and how much do you want your meter of beta waves and how much do you want your meter of alpha and theta waves? So let's dive into what alpha waves are. They're brainwaves that are slower, they're higher in amplitude. Their frequency ranges from like a 9 to 14 cycles per second. So a person who has completed a task and sits down to rest is often in an alpha state. A person who takes time to reflect or meditate is usually in an alpha state. So alpha waves, which measure in this frequency, occur when people feel relaxed and when the brain is at an idle state without concentrating on anything. beta waves, which measure a little higher, are those waves when you're conscious and again, you're in the awake state. So what do alpha waves do for you? They get you to feel calm. They increase your creativity. They enhance your ability to absorb new information. How many times have you felt overwhelmed and you're like, I thought I was trying to learn something new and I having a hard time getting the information into my brain? When that occurs, it means you probably have a little bit too much beta wave and not enough alpha wave. Okay. Prolonging your ability to stay in the alpha helps you to get into a mindfulness, gratefulness experience just mentally. So I want to also then dive into like the next phase out of alpha would be a deeper theta wave. And this is a strong internal focus meditation, more like a prayer and a spiritual awareness. The theta, or they call it theta gamma state, can be achieved by alleviating stress. It brings calmness and a relaxing reduction in anxiety, allows you to get really deep, relax, and improves actually your verbal performance. So it's just going into a deeper state of alpha. You don't skip from beta to theta, you have to go through alpha. So by using by using this device, what you will notice is it will get you into a state where you can go from beta to alpha to theta and back from theta into alpha and dive right back into beta. So it's just something to think about. The living crystal is phenomenal. The energy that you're going to feel is going to be something different. You might not even notice anything immediate. What we have noticed here in the office is a calmer state and being able to move in between those brainwave states. We've also noticed that you feel an energy, almost like a heat sensation coming from the living crystal. So that's super amazing. And I think that if we can have a device that can help patients get to that level of relaxation and reduced anxiety, we should definitely be promoting that for the healthcare of our patients.